Okay, I'm not sure if I missed anything. I was getting disconnected there. Where were we? Ian reported the 17% of the ballots have been returned.
No, it's actually 13.
13%.
Okay. Which is not, I think, not bad considering we have we have quite a few members from over a year ago who have really haven't been active, and in future elections, we'll have this active member policy in place. So to remain an active member, you'll have to spend at least $10 on the platform in any calendar year for your membership to stay active and for you to be able to vote.
Right. Thank you. And we have Steve is going to town here, adding things to the agenda. I also wanted to put something here on or potentially here talk about the communications working group. I don't know if you're up for talking about that, Daryl. And we'll be scheduling a time for that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. First of all, I'm sorry that I haven't engaged in that meeting for weeks now. Yeah, I would love to reschedule a different time because now that I'm here in BC, 7 a.m. is right when I wake up to get my daughter to school. So another time would be much better for me.
Okay, let's see, where was that? You had a message from you on that, right? Okay, well, I don't know how many people, I guess, I don't know how many people here were aware of the meeting or want to attend. A communications working group, but we can reschedule that, and I mean, the simplest thing would maybe make it times when I'm available would start an hour afterwards. So that would be 8 a.m. your time. That would be 11 a.m. New York time. 8 a.m. Pacific time, right? That may not give you enough time to. That may still be too early for you, Daryl.
Yeah, that's like 8 a.m. is kind of like the most frenetic time in our house. It's when we're, yeah. But I would say for me, if it was on Wednesday, it would probably have to be after 1. Somewhere between 1 and 3 is my window on Wednesday.
1 and 3. So that's
like 4.
So you're 4 hours. Wait, so that would be 5 o'clock New York time?
No, I think we're 3 hours off from you. I think it would be between 4 and 5 your time.
Wait, 4 is 4 is 1. Pacific time.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're an hour. You're another hour off, aren't you? 4 hours off New York time.
No, I'm the same as Seattle.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I was thinking that. So you were like off the edge of the earth there or something. Okay, so 4 o'clock on Wednesday. Okay, that's fine with me. I don't know if you would prefer another time, but
yeah, that's great for me. It's yeah, it works out really good for my end.
okay, I'll update the calendar.
And yeah, if anyone else would like to join us, you know, it's essentially self-explanatory, I think. Basically trying to improve communications. I think a lot of the initial focus will be on member to member type stuff. But yeah.
So the agreed upon time was 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. 1 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay. Yeah, with that new time, I'm in a better position to be able to attend. So I'll make an effort to try to participate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I guess we go around. So, Steve, what's on? Did you want to?
Yes, I added a few talking points. Let's see here. So I added cost accounting update, and Ned can keep me honest on this. So I understand that we anticipate 2 more weeks approximately to where cost accounting will be completed. And then once that's done, we'll be moving into testnet 3. So that's encouraging. And the wallet update, we had our weekly wallet development and testing working group yesterday. So Arvin, the front end developer, he's moving right along with creating my RChain wallet. So he anticipated. He gave 2 time frames. If he has to work on the back end himself, he can anticipate the wallet being done in 2 months. But if he gets assistance, and which he will from Tomislav and or NutZipper, he can get that time frame down to 1 month. So we're anticipating sometime in the second half of November having my RChain wallet completed. And then at that time, we'll be able to start doing the testing on the wallet to make sure it's do some quality testing. And then we'll create, and an offshoot from that would be an offline wallet to where you don't have to be connected to the web. You can just use your computer and I guess store a JSON file to a zip drive and transfer it. That and then a test rev manager. So being able to manage the distribution and management of test rev. So essentially those 3 applications are what we're hoping to get working.
Can you turn your camera on when you're speaking, or not today?
My camera's not on?
No.
Or am I? Oh, how'd that? No, my camera's. I'm not sure. Can you see me?
See you now.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what happened. Hey, I'm not. Yeah, and gremlins in my iPad. So, okay. So hear me. Oh, well, let me go. I keep going back and forth to the member log. Maybe that had something to do with it. Oh, and I had a question and maybe this is a question for Ian. Does RChain have any type of director and officer insurance, or does that even exist for a company like us, or a co-op for us like RChain?
Yes. Yeah. The co-op.
There definitely is.
Right.
You should talk. Ian probably could talk to that.
Actually, Lilia has those details.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's that. I'll inquire with Lilia to get more information on that, because I know when I was a board of director, just on my homeowners association, that we had director and officer insurance. So I'd be curious to get more details on that. Okay, and then the last item was so I know when I'm scribing for the governance committee meetings on Thursdays, we've talked about getting the agenda items available or created 24 hours in advance. And the thought was perhaps, as a scribe, I can work towards facilitating that. And I know some of us, those of us on the call here, are also on the governance committee meeting. If we were to create a Discord chat, where we could sort of communicate on a back channel to kind of create an agenda for the Thursday governance committee meetings, and then once has finalized in the Discord chat with the governance committee members, then I could post that, or someone could post that a weekly agenda on the governance channel. So it appears that on Wednesday, the day before the governance committee, here are the agenda items for the Thursday governance committee, and that way I guess it's more in the sense of transparency. So governance committee, these are the agenda items. Nothing is a secret. This is what for the co-op community, this is what's being discussed or will be discussed in the Thursday governance committee meeting. So how does everyone feel, or those of us and I'm not actually on the governance committee, I'm more of a monitor scribe. Those of you, I should say, on the governance committee feel about if we create a Discord chat to start to hash out what the weekly agenda items are, with the idea that those will be posted on the governance channel. Any thoughts?
I'm not sure we need another channel. I think anything of interest can go into the members.
Well, no, I'm saying there
and then
there is the
what we have the RGov blog, and that's where, in principle, we build an agenda, and we should start building that at the end of this week's meeting. We should already have a start to next week's agenda. What are we going to, we should probably think about, what things we would need to do for the next week, and put those in the RGov log. And a Google document can be a pretty good communications mechanism, and those on the committee can set it so that they get emails on every change, not just their own change.
Okay. I wasn't aware that. See, that was the question as far as an alert. So if you can set it up to where if there's an update to the RGov log, you're alerted that there's a change. We can certainly try it that way. I'm just trying to think of how to a mechanism to come up with agenda items during the week, so that come Thursday they're there, and then they can also be posted on the existing governance channel. How that happens?
I agree that it should be in the channel, but why not just put the suggested items in the governance channel? I mean, isn't that where they belong?
Well, I mean, that was one thought, but I guess I, um, we'd be bringing up items that wouldn't necessarily be uh, um, brought. It's. I don't have a problem with it. It's that was actually my first idea, but I thought as far as a coordinating effort, it would be better to work within the group itself and then have something that's finalized for the governance channel, or just have all the communications on the governance channel, and that would certainly be more transparent. I'm just thinking of the downside that it may create, I don't know, would it create confusion among the co-op members as far as what's going to be on the agenda, what's not? Would it create controversy? It's if it's the governance committee members deliberating amongst themselves to identify what's going to be on the agenda, but then you have if the committee's deliberating, but then you have that deliberation, kind of in the open air, public for the co-op members to see, and then they can also chime in, which may or may not add, an additional element to the conversation. But if everyone's agreeable to that, then what we have all the conversation in the governance channel during the week as far as outlining what the agenda is. So yeah, that's fine.
I mean, getting any agenda, any ideas for stuff to, agenda items to list out. I mean, in the meeting, they take a second or two to go in, but
so okay, so
I agree with you, and I think we should take this. We should take every opportunity. 2019 / 10 / what's going to be 20?
It'll be the 24th tomorrow.
24. Okay. So we can put on the agenda for tomorrow. Maybe in agenda. Okay, and generally, I think since commenting and discussions in the document work really nicely. If I can I can comment on this. We can have a discussion on it, whatever. I think that's probably a good place. And we also have to remember to put stuff in here. And if we don't put it in here, we should at least put it in the channel. I don't think we need another channel. But I think it's good.
Yeah.
Stephen, are you talking about trying to have a depository where people can go and review previous agendas and things like that?
No, I would say like tomorrow is, we'll say on Thursday. So say tomorrow there's a governance committee meeting, and usually it's the agendas are made right before the meeting starts. My thought is, if maybe get in a habit to have those agenda items 24 hours in advance. And so you're going into the governance committee meetings, the agenda is already created and everyone knows what the governance committee is going to be talking about. And to take that a step further, 24 hours in advance, have those agenda items posted on the governance channel on that Wednesday, the day before.
Right.
So the co-op members can say, oh, okay, today's Wednesday. Here's the agenda items for the governance committee, which is the next day, tomorrow. and they kind of know what's going on in the world of governance. Since as far as the co-op is concerned, the governance is that's the core, the focal point, and it's all about the governance committee is kind of leading the way for the expanded growth of the co-op and for RChain in general. So I see the governance committee as a central component to everything that's happening. And in the efforts, since it's a co-op and it's all about transparency, then we want community involvement, or at least awareness, having those agenda items made available to the co-op's membership 24 hours in advance. It creates that effort of transparency.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
But so I guess, so let me just say this, that so the question I had is, what is the mechanism to accomplish that? So that was what, I don't have a perfect idea of what is the mechanism to how to go about creating this agenda 24 hours in advance. So my first thought was just have everything done in the governance channel. I mean, just throw it on there, and whatever, the discussion and all. But that's certainly transparent, and but maybe that's a little bit too transparent. And it's when you make sausage, sausage is great, but in the process of making sausage, it's kind of messy. So people would see all that messiness. Right. So I thought the idea is, well, what if we were to create a Discord chat with just the governance committee members to deliberate amongst themselves to finalize, okay, these are, in all the discussion, we come up with these 5 things, and that's going to be the agenda for Thursday. Then I take, copy and paste that into the governance channel 24 hours in advance, and all people see is what all the co-op members see is what the agenda items are for the Thursday governance committee. They don't see all of the noise that goes on, that goes into creating what that agenda items are. They just see the list. Right.
No, and I can see how that could be necessary at some point. At this point, there's almost no engagement of any member. I can't see excluding anybody from putting things on a list that we might want to talk about.
Okay. So, and that's completely in it. And so that would simplify everything immensely. That
I agree with you that we should try to have these agendas in advance. And I think the way to do that is during the 17th message, we start making the list. And then when people mention stuff in the channel, somebody has to take responsibility to put it, one of the committee members put it on here to at least discuss it. There's no reason why we can't raise anything that any member is concerned about and decide whether we want to talk about it or not, whatever.
It's just a matter of,
we're not cutting down. We don't have this huge list of possibilities, and we're trying to argue about which ones we're going to do and which ones we're not going to do. Anything that anybody suggested, we're going to do. Right?
Okay. All right. It sounds like a plan. So, okay. So we'll, I'll kind of be as the scribe, and I'll facilitate the effort towards helping the governance committee members help them create an agenda with a goal that agenda becomes available 24 hours in advance of the Thursday governance committee meeting.
So one of the things we should do at the member meeting every week is say, hey, everybody, do you have any items for the agenda for tomorrow's governance meeting?
Yeah, exactly. So, right. So this,
Ned, do you have anything? Ian, Bill, Darrell?
No, I don't have anything.
So one thought was, so tomorrow is the annual general membership meeting. I guess that starts at 10. So 7 a.m. Pacific time, so 8, 9, 10, so 10 Eastern time. And so I'm assuming that there will be a governance committee meeting tomorrow in addition to the governance or the annual general meeting.
No, it hasn't been canceled or anything.
Yeah, it's still on the schedule. Hey,
Yeah.
I might want to add something to talk about for that meeting. We've been, the idea has been around for a while of having a member survey, and after working with this election buddy a little bit, I see that it can work out pretty well and cheaply to use that same tool for basically $90, and we can get on with doing a more complete survey to all the membership.
So it would be $90 per survey, or $90 for the year, or what?
per survey.
Per survey.
Yeah.
Do you, Ian, do you see this as being something that we could implement on a somewhat more regular basis throughout the year? Is that what you're suggesting?
Not necessarily, but we have one survey item on this on the election that's going on right now. If we had a little more time, I think folks were trying to get together with making it a more substantial survey. But one of the main survey items I want to see is members' willingness to participate in more such surveys, because I basically want to send it out and see, their members, some members are going to say, hey, don't bother me. I don't want to get emails from you all except for the most important stuff like the annual meeting. So I want to get a feel for how much communication they want and try to channel people into participating more and taking up more responsibility in the co-op, particularly committee membership.
I got a couple of thoughts on these things. We did, my previous company, we did annualize surveys each year. But prior to us starting that, we first researched the whole topic and what we were trying to achieve long term. So we looked at things of, best companies to work for and reports and attributes that kind of lined up with what made them so. And we built then the survey around that long-term idea of trying to build a really great company. So that way we were asking questions and therefore measuring things that would help us to align our company with changes that would get us to that long-term goal. So what comes to mind is a couple of things on some of what we've been talking about. One is, okay, what do we want to talk about in terms of, governance moving forward? And last week we spoke about the analogy of, okay, the governance committee coming together and kind of, in the GP001 and such, of like laying foundation for which you're going to build the house upon.
Can you turn on your camera, Bill?
No, I'm not going to do that right now, Jim.
Okay, that's all right.
I got some things going on.
Just if possible, we want to get the collective intelligence.
No, I get it. But not today.
If you turn it on sometimes, that's good enough.
Right. And so, so my train of thought is that governance committee, if we can begin to think about, okay, what needs to be put into place besides the governance committee when you're trying to think of a wholesome, well-operating cooperative that's going to be able to support this platform for the foreseeable future. And, if you were running a corporation, you'd be looking at sales and marketing and your accounting and your, these different essential functions and departments that have to be in place. So what is it about the cooperative that has to be in place? so that we can encourage people to begin to develop those working groups and those other committees. But the other thing is about the survey is also thinking about, okay, what can we build into a survey that we could then perhaps annualize, so that way you're able to measure compounded results year over year, and to see that, okay, we're actually making traction in these areas. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Okay, this is, one of the, what I was trying to do with the call to action here is exactly what you're talking about. But this has to be a document that everyone participates in and keeps up to date in order for us to, it's our starting point. We have the governance committee, nominations, we have audit, we have developers, we have our RChain improvement process, communications working group, member relations working group, task force, finding board members, relaxation of rock restrictions, member rock sales, strategic partners working group, community run service management. This is not exhaustive, okay? Because one of the things I found in working with governance or online communities for 50 years is that largely governance is a matter of discovering how things are done and who's doing what, and making that visible to the rest of the organization so that people know how to get stuff done. So we're saying what there ought to be in place, and then we're trying to get people involved in those things. We can create something new or whatever, and all the things that, really, I guess having people have the guts to go in and type in a collaborative document. If everybody put their intelligence into the document would have the collective intelligence, right? But it's not how we're used to working. It's a totally different, thing that we were taught, like, doing your own work and all that's bullshit. But you could never keep the stuff up to date if you have to hire somebody full time to keep it up to date, unless people take responsibility to keep their own stuff up to date in our collaborative documents. So, can you take the stuff that you're looking for and put it in this document, or you want to create a new document, Bill? I'm up for any. Did I miss? Am I understanding what you want to do here?
Well, I'm just trying to express that well, I don't know what I'm trying to express. I didn't know that like what you just showed there, Jim. I don't know if I've seen that before. But maybe that's indicative of part of our problem, is that some of this stuff lives in different places and people don't necessarily know that it's there. And so only those who are part of the conversation see it.
Well, I think what we're discussing is an important piece of the conversation as far as we talk about the growth of the co-op, the growth of RChain. What is that growth and vision going to look like, and how do we accomplish it? What are the details to actually action items that make that come into place? And when we think of what is or who is the governing body that orchestrates this, well, I think the governance committee, at least to me, kind of becomes, everything falls on the governance committee. They have to take full accountability and responsibility, and then delegate or allocate the responsibility and tasks. So so I see this as a governance committee agenda item. So here, this is the perfect venue for these types of things to bubble up. So it started with Ian saying, hey, it'd be nice, or the election buddy has the capacity to do surveys. It's $90 per survey, and this would be a great vehicle to get the feedback, sentiment from the wider community. Okay, with that bit of information, then we think, okay, with the governance committee, it's tasked with, we have to build out the working groups and committees and so forth. Which ones are we going to start with? Is there a hierarchy of ones that are more important than others? And then, what is the unfoldment and the expansion of the co-op and the effort? So I think, and Bill is that missing piece that makes it come together. Is, okay, if we think in these terms, well, we need to think in terms of annualizing this to where you with what we come up with, we have to compare what we do in year one with what we do in year two, and then compare that with year three. So you see this, you have to be able to measure. We have to come up with metrics in order to be able to measure. And that, I think, is kind of the underlying theme to all this is what are going to be the metrics that we're going to measure over these coming years, and who's going to decide what the metrics will be that will be measured. And perhaps that's the governance committee. It's like, okay, but that this is a great discussion to start to have, because I'm right in tune with where it's going, and it speaks to the effort of the co-op having its act together. It's like, this is a professional organization that knows what it's doing, and it's got a plan, and this is the plan of the year-over-year plan. How it's what are the components that are being measured? This is how it's being measured. These are the results. So in 5 years' time, someone say, oh, so how's the co-op doing over what you've been doing over the 5 years? Like, well, here's our 5 years worth of surveys of our criteria that's been actualized over each year, and these are the progress charts on each one. So I mean, this is what it's all about. So this is good stuff.
Yeah, and it'll help us a lot with knowing where to put attention towards, mm-hmm. and where to allocate resources to.
Yeah, and we can think about how and this may be step two. The governance committee does all the dirty work of pulling this together, but I think that the member hangout is that this informal forum to kind of think through all this of what does this thing look like, how's it going to come together? So and it's less rigid, and you could probably have more people's input and so forth. So, but I certainly feel that this would be and as far as an action item, I think this is such a large effort that it has to be broken down into smaller components. So it's not so ominous to, especially, with me not having done one of these before. I would probably tend to do too much at one time. So I think the question would be, what would be some of the smaller incremental pieces that would need to, we would need to, like we were putting an agenda item for the committee meeting. So I think, certainly bring this up as a topic of discussion, but I think the next thing would be, okay, how do we break this down into smaller, manageable pieces so it moves forward? And maybe that might be kind of a homework assignment for us to kind of think about. And Bill, since you've kind of have gone through this process, you'd be the best person to break it down into smaller pieces so it doesn't become overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you break it down into a project, and the project has mile markers, and we have objectives that we're trying to achieve, and eventually we'll get there.
Yeah.
But I just want to encourage us to not in any way be hasty about it, but give it the time due to thinking about what the long-term vision is that we want to try and create, and then we build everything around that to make sure that, okay, we're essentially making small steps to get there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So I'll
we should try to put, setting the agenda or agenda items for governance part of this meeting, where we used to have committees reporting in this meeting, where somebody would report on governance, somebody would report on whatever, and we sort of still have that. In that, we report on the DAP developers, you report on the various activities of people report, and people can bring up anything. This is the member hangout. It's
right.
But we can have certain elements like setting agenda items for governance. Could be one of the things we do, and this is what I came up with. So based on what we and please feel free to go in and update this, and hopefully we'll have it before the meeting tomorrow. We'll have people's thoughts in there. Put your comments in there. We don't have to wait till the meeting to start filling in some of the details here, whatever. Okay, now I guess in terms of the meeting today, where are we? I gotta find that. Get back to the agenda. I guess Gary, you want to report on activities, on your activities? Before we, since we only have two.
Yeah, I've been working on mostly Keybase this week and getting some bots set up and some cron jobs set up to start sending out announcements about meetings automatically. And I was just thinking I can probably also set up some cron jobs to start sending reminders to update the agenda for the various committee meetings that are going to be held, maybe the day before or something like that. So I got a lot of ideas about cron jobs. I'm also getting excited about using some of the identity identifiers and ISCC and p hash, perceptual hashing opposed to cryptographic hashing we're going to use on our Art on the Blockchain project. And I guess that's all I've got to report on right now.
Yeah, the Art of the Blockchain stuff, we set up a GitHub on Saturday with Dan. We have, as part of Robot, we have a draft .001 of an art.row contract. Been fleshing those out in work studies a little bit. We need to discover the nature of non-fungible tokens, and see how things like the 721, ERC 721, 725, 735. See how we can reframe those ERCs interface for Ethereum into the Roland world using object capabilities and really e-rights protocols. But in essence, we want the same functionality. Those interfaces, if we support those interfaces, we'll have sufficient functionality, and we need to understand those to see how we might want to change them. And I think that's something that I think we should probably reach out to the member community a little more to see if we can get people engaged in helping with that, since it's, art is a special case, but it really it's a very general case of modeling ownership and agreements, transfer agreements and other agreements on the chain. And how we handle identities and such in those. I don't know, anything else? Anyone? We have 5 minutes, I guess, whatever.
Yes, I had something. And I guess this might be a question for Ian. So, we're on a recorded line, and I'm bringing up something that was on the closed meeting.
We've only got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's recorded. So we're listed as a nonprofit, cooperative, but the Articles of Incorporation define us as, and that has something to do with REI is also listed as nonprofit, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. So if you look up business licenses in the state of Washington, you'll see that REI is listed as a nonprofit, as is RChain Cooperative. But I think that has something to do with the legal status of cooperatives in Washington state is very similar to that of nonprofits, extending over toward the immunity given to officers and directors, where they are held to a lower bar than for a public corporation. So that bar being negligence versus gross negligence. So, I'm kind of getting into the weeds a little bit here, but if you look at the business license, it says nonprofit. If you look at the Articles of Incorporation and the characteristics of the co-op itself, it's clearly for profit, and that profit is distributed to the membership.
And the reason why this is important point to clarify, because this came up during our investor relations, our funding investor relations working group.
Is this